Welcome back, and joining us for a look at the equity scene is Annatjie Van Rooyen from MyWealth Investments. Thank you so much for your time, Annatjie. Now, of course, the market's still digesting the tensions in the Middle East that are continuing to flare up there. Would you say that the markets are still pricing in a significant amount of risk there? And also, if we are actually seeing, any risk, or maybe just the market shrugging off the risk that we are seeing there in the Middle East at this point?
Good evening, Annatjie, and thank you for having me. Yes, at one point today, our market was actually performing quite well because the attack by Iran was fully discounted in the oil price. So the oil price actually came down after Iran mentioned or stated that they're done for now. They did also mention that they are ready to come back, but I think for now all the political noise has been discounted. So the market was actually performing well, but then something else happened. The US and the UK have announced that they do not want newly mined nickel and aluminium by Russia to reach Western markets, and they will not allow those commodities to be stored on the London Metals Exchange.
All right.
So that can cause quite a bit of turbulence going forward. So I think the spotlight here is on the commodities market and what it can do to inflation if we see an escalation in the tensions. And then, of course, central banks have already signaled a delay in the interest rate cuts. So now we're only looking at the first interest rate cut in the US in the second half of the year, and probably closer towards the end of the third quarter. And then after the retail sales numbers came in hotter than expected in the US, we saw the yields spiking, and that's when the market started to sell off. So I think it had more to do with inflation fears and the fear of tighter oil markets going forward and higher commodity prices and the ripple effect to inflation that caused the sell-off today, more so than geopolitical tension at this point in time.
Is that what we're seeing on the currency scene? Because the rand was actually doing quite well. It was quite resilient. It was at 18 rand 80, 18 rand 70 last week. But then, of course, we saw it now going above that 19 rand level against the US dollar. So is this just a strong dollar story at this point?
Yeah, definitely. It was after the release of the retail sales numbers, all these inflationary data coming out of the US. And we are also right in the middle of the earnings releases from the banks in the US. And those numbers are actually beating expectations. So the US economy, the consumers in the US remain resilient. That economy remains strong. The business inventory numbers came out, so you can clearly see that there's increased investment in inventory that bodes well for GDP growth in the US. So I don't think we're seeing a sustained acceleration in inflation or that we have seen a turning point, but definitely an interruption to disinflationary trends that we have seen recently, and I think that is what's affecting the markets.
Well, talking about interruptions, we did get an interruption from Barloworld today. I don't know if anybody has any insight, because they came out with a cautionary announcement saying that they are in the middle of discussions that, if concluded, could change, or shift the share price in some way. Of course, they haven't said if they're a takeover target. They haven't said if they're, getting rid of any of their operations on that front. Are there any rumors that you are hearing on your side, Annatjie? Because we did see the market actually reacting quite positively. They're up about 10%.
No, I've just returned from Australia, so I haven't been listening to any market rumors. Unfortunately, I can't answer that question. I don't know. It has to be something significant, but I have no idea what it is.
Yeah.
Sorry, Zanat.
Yeah, no. Listen, clearly investors are expecting something on that front. I mean, Barloworld didn't even give any clues on that. So, of course, we'll wait and see as to what they come out with. Of course, not a lot of news on the JSE today. We also did get an update, a trading update from Sirius Real Estate there, giving out some good financial metrics that their rent rolls up 8.6%. I'm not sure if if Sirius is one that you look at closely, or just maybe your thoughts on the general property sector at the moment, because seeming that the property companies that have exposure to overseas properties are actually doing quite well.
Yes, they are. And I did have a look at Sirius. So, and I think I actually recently commented on them as well. So it's a solid company and they have a solid track record. And what is very impressive is that they had a very successful capital raise in November of £165 million that they used to acquire 2 business parks in Germany. So this company has a well-diversified portfolio across the UK and Germany. So this is one that I think, one can definitely have in your portfolio. As for the rest of the sector, a lot of these companies still battle with elevated vacancies. Like we've also seen today, Accelerate announced that they will have to have a rights issue to help them to settle debt and get the company on track because of the elevated vacancies. So it's not across the board.
Yeah.
You have to do your homework and run the numbers and see which ones offer value. But I agree with you, the ones with international exposure are definitely doing well, and this one specifically is a solid one.
All right. Well, let's get into another stock that you think is solid. Your stock pick for today, Annatjie, what will it be?
I'll go for Process, seen as the internet asset division of Naspers and the largest consumer internet company in Europe. They're also among the largest technology investors with a 26% stake in Tencent, 25% stake in Delivery Hero, and on a very undemanding forward price earnings ratio.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time and for your insights on what has been moving investors' money today, Annatjie. Appreciate it. That was Annatjie Van Rooyen from MyWealth Investments.